Hi, I'm Joe with Electro Freeze Southeast. Today we're going to take a look at the Electro Freeze CS600. We're going to assemble it, show you how to sanitize and get the machine ready for production, how to clean the machine out after production, and to do a full disassembly on the machine for cleaning. Let's get started. Started, we have all of our parts laid out from cleaning the night before. We had cleaned everything in the sink, we sanitized everything and laid it out to dry. We want to make sure we have our lube with us. Any NSF approved machine lube will be fine for this machine. And let's get started with the auger. So we're going to take our auger. We're going to add some of our lube to the rear portion. We don't want to get it on the actual nut itself, we want to get it on this area around the shaft. And we just smooth it on around there. This is our rear seal. The seal can go on either way, so we're just going to slide this on and just put a little bit of lube around the outside of this rubber shaft, or rubber seal, so we can get a nice clean seal on it. Now we're going to add our breaker bar. A breaker bar has 2 points of contact, one at the very tip and one up here at the base of the shaft. What we want to do is add lubricant to both of those. There and a little bit up here. So we will slide that in. Grab our blades. So the blades should have a completely flat back to them. Over time you'll start to see that this triangle gets worn away on the edges here. Anything more than about a 3/16 lip on the end of that is going to start creating issues with ice cream being stuck on the walls of the machine. We want to make sure we replace the blades at that point. They always go on with the flat side out. Flat side out. And now we're ready to assemble this in our machine. Okay, we have our auger fully assembled. We're going to slide this all the way to the back. It's always easiest, I've found out, to put this blade, the rear blade, on the bottom. It'll give the whole auger some support as it slides back and keep it lined up. Slides back, it's all the way in, and then we just twist it until it locks in place. So now it won't twist on its own. Also, we want to make sure that this front breaker bar is completely squared, so when we put the faceplate on, or the head on, it sits flush within the square. Okay, now to assemble the head, we are going to take our door gasket, slide it around the outside of the door. We want to add just a little bit of lube to that. It doesn't need a lot, it's just to help get the door on and off. It'll seal well with or without it. We also want to add our medium-sized overhangs to the plunger. It's easiest to put the first one on first, and then the second one will slide right over that first one, and it will go all the way back. Again, we're going to add a little bit of lube. You just want to make sure we get a sheen across this whole section. This will slide into our head. And we want to keep the hole toward the front. Okay, we can put our start cap on the bottom. Take our handle. The handle is going to slide into that hole. It's going to line up with the front hole on the front of this machine. Then we can slide our locking pin in. And that operates as it's supposed to. The last thing we'll assemble is the air tube. So the air tube has two gaskets, which are going to be these slightly bigger, thin gaskets. And they're going to slide onto the bottom. Again, it's easiest to put the first one on first and then slide the second one up over it. And that'll lock in place. Then we have the inside part of the air tube, and our smallest gasket and last gasket will go on there. Put it on and it slides all the way up in. Again, I'm going to put just a little bit of lube. We really don't need much. Just helps give it a little bit of easier movement. And that will go in. And a little bit on these lower gaskets as well. Just as a reminder on how this guy works, we have a hole in the front. If you can see through the hole, that means mix is coming in this bottom hole and going out into the machine, into the barrel of the machine. We can turn this sideways and you can see that hole gets covered, and we no longer are allowing mix down into the machine. So if you see in the top you can't see through this hole, that means that when you pull the handle you're not getting mix down into the machine to refill the barrel. So we're going to leave that in the open setting for now. So we have the head of the machine. On the front of the head of the machine you can see that there's a square slot in the front, and there's also a square on the front of the breaker bar. We just want to make sure that we can get that lined up. That door will slide in easily. And then we have our two locking nuts. And we just want to turn them to try to keep it even so that that door stays on evenly. And it'll stop in place. Okay, now we have our guide rod. This is going to push up. There's a little white button on the top. Push that white button up and sit right at the top of the plunger. Now our machine's functioning properly. We have our magnet, which is going to go into the top. There's a guide rod on the top, a white guide rod. And we have our mix air tube or mix feed tube. And our tray cover. Our machine is now fully assembled and we're ready to sanitize it.